Hi, I'm going to be making a Hollowbody guitar, and this is how I build my guitars from scratch. So first of all, I'll make a pattern out of cardboard or paper, and this is when I trace. Basically, it's a Hollowbody like a Gretsch 6120 guitar, and what I did is I modified the body a little bit, as you can see. It has a little more wave to the bottom here. So I'm gonna make my pattern like I just did here, and then I'm gonna make my form so when I bend the wood, it'll shape to the guitar. Now this is the form that I use. Basically, I just thought of it. I put a bunch of nails around my pattern. I put the nails, and then what I did is I put little rubber tubing around the nails, so when I bend the wood, it won't damage the wood. On this build, I'm going to be using maple, curly maple, not super curly, but it has some patterns in it. And basically I started out with about a 10-foot by 7-foot wide piece of wood that's about 3/4 inch thick. And then what I did was I'll cut it to the size of the guitar, approximately, maybe I leave an inch or two over. And this will take, I'll have to glue 3 pieces of this together. So what I did with the 3/4 inch piece of wood that I had, I marked it and I cut it down to approximately, I think it's about 22 inches long. So it's a little bigger than the frame that I built. So this is one of 3 pieces that'll be glued together, and I glued. I will glue it, even though it's kind of thin. I'll show you in a second how I glued it together. But in the meantime, I took my table saw and I trimmed it from 3/4 inch down to roughly a little more than 1/4. It's not perfect because this piece has to be it's a little bit warped, but it really won't matter at all, because I'll probably reshape it a little bit when I go ahead and make it into the top or the back. Okay, here's the 3 pieces of wood I glued together that are 1/4 inch, and it's pretty thin, but I found the best way that I was able to glue it without any problems. I use these clamps. They're actually really good. They're, I don't know, metal or steel, and they're flat, so when you lay the wood on it, it keeps everything uniformed. But being these pieces were a little bit warped, and if you try and glue it all together, it will just pop apart. So I put these blocks on it. First I tightened them very little. I didn't really tighten them, just a touch. And then I put the blocks on it, and then I tightened them more tight. But I didn't tighten them super tight, because it would probably just split as well. So I do it very firm, and it seems to work pretty good because I've done this on a few other builds. Here's the finished piece for this is probably going to be the front of the guitar, the top, and you can see it's glued pretty solid. I used Titebond 3 is what I've been using. This will have to be sanded down and smoothed out. I'll probably use maybe a hand router to sand it down a little bit, or not sand it, it'll take it down so it's even. But usually a palm sander, just a regular old palm sander you buy at a hardware store, will probably take this off. I'll start with like a 40 or 60 grit and work its way up, and I'll put a little arch into it as well. So as far as the sides go, I started out with this piece of wood here, and it's kind of thick. I could use it as a neck or whatever. So I think this is about a 1 inch But anyways, it's also curly kind of maple to it. And what I do is I'll take this piece and I'll cut it on my table saw to roughly, I don't know, maybe 1/8 of an inch. But sometimes on the table saw, it's not really perfect, so it kind of varies in size. So I cut it about 1/8 of an inch, and then after I cut it down to that size, I'll take it over here to my sander, and I'll sand it on the sander with, this is actually, I think it's 40, maybe 60 grit, and I'll sand it so it's really thin. I'll do it by hand, and you can see it's about less than 1/8 of an inch. It's very, very thin. It's really flexible. So when I go to bend it, it should be fine. But after I do it on this, with this real thick grid, I will use, either you can do it by hand or you can use your palm sander, and I'll go from that to about 100 grit, and I'll take it all the way down to about 220, so it's pretty smooth. And I'll do it on both sides. So it's pretty flexible. It's very thin, so it's got to be real careful not to break it when you bend it in the bender. Here's my homemade heat bending apparatus. I got this pipe, steel pipe, that I made. I actually got this idea on the internet, YouTube. And basically it's just pipe. I guess you could use whatever size pipe you need. I think this is about, this might be like a 1 inch or 1 1/4. Anyways, I put dirt from here to here, and then what I usually do is I put water so the dirt gets like, so the dirt doesn't, get real hot and burns anything else. So I'll put a little water in there. And then I keep a bucket of water here, and I usually use it to wet the wood a little bit. And I just use a regular heat gun, and I made a little stand for it. And that's how I bend the wood, and I'll show you in a minute. Okay, I'm going to start bending the wood. What I do is I go over to my form, and I'll go up and back to the form to make sure that I have to bend it a certain way. It takes a little bit of time. I usually try and take my time not to crack the wood. So anyways, a little bit of water on here, and then I'll be getting ready to start bending this thing here. I'll kind of measure it out. And I'll put a little bit of pressure on it. It gets hot. And then you can feel the wood actually relaxing. I can feel it bending, but I don't want to do it too quick. I want to let it get hot, but not too hot. You can start seeing it's a little bit starting to bend a little bit more than what I had. Now this is going to be the real tight bend where the cutoff on the guitar is. I could bend it on this area too if I want, or on the bottom. Either one works. Now you could use gloves, which I do a lot, because it gets pretty dang hot if you touch the metal or the pipe. Now you gotta be a little patient, or a lot patient. So now you can see I've almost bended it at 45 degrees. Once I bend it to where I need to, I will hold it in position for a little bit, 10-20 seconds, so it doesn't bend too far back. Now you can see how I bent it, and it's almost half a circle. So what I'll do is I'll put this over here, and I'll kind of measure it up. And I'll just follow the frame. So now I've done a little more bending. I slowly press against the wood onto the pipe, and just do it real slow and careful. I'll wet the wood very lightly so it doesn't get too hot. So when you wet it, it kind of gives it a little steam. And it relaxes the wood. It's got a nice shape to it. Okay, so I've been working on it for about a half hour, and it's all kind of shaped out, as you can see, but it's flexible. So when I put it in the mold or the frame that I made, it'll all be pretty good. I'll show you. So on this one, I had some of these dowels laying around, and I thought that maybe they would work out to hold the frame in. So I made these dowels, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. Here's the frame with the wood that I just bent. So here's the finished one side, how I just got done bending it. I guess overall it took me probably about an hour to bend it and keep on messing around with it. Now I'm going to do the other side. I'm going to bend the wood on the other side of the for the body, and I'll show you what it's going to look like. Here's the before I bend it. It's just a straight, very, very thin. It's okay, we'll go over it. We're going to go over it anyways. Right. No, we're going to go over it. What's up? Well, now we're going to... Yeah, we're gonna, on this part we're gonna go over. And here is the finished sides, all bent to the shape that I wanted. So on the kerfing, I made it myself. It's real cheap to buy it, but I just figured, and I had all this wood laying around, why not just go ahead and make my own kerfing? So you just use just a blade like this works for me. And you just set your table to the right height and just run it through, and it's very simple to do. You can see it could crack apart. It's no big deal. Once you glue it, it's fine. So if you want to buy your own, you buy your own. If not, you can make it on your, if you have a little table saw. So I got my box of clothespins ready. So when I put the kerfing on, I use a little paintbrush and just dip it in some Tite Bond glue, and I just go ahead and put it on. So this is what I'm doing. I take a little glue, put it around the edge a little bit, and I put some glue on here. Get my clothespins. Pretty much that's it.